a lot of the times where I felt anxious or depressed or like waking up in the middle of the night or something is off, I believe there's something from God that we are meant to be doing, saying, sharing that we're ignoring.
So many times when we're battling with that anxiety, we're not aligned with our purpose. And maybe we're not feeling authentic in what we're sharing online or what we're doing in our business or even in our relationships. Maybe there's a version of us that is just desperate to be free.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Earn Your Happy podcast. I love this episode today because it is with a friend of mine who I've known for a really long time, who's also worked with me on some really awesome projects, and I'll share that in a minute. But if you know that you are meant for more in your life, but your business is not reflecting it yet, this conversation is your permission slip and your next step to get there. So I'm sitting down with my friend and creative powerhouse, Alexis Andra. She's the founder of The Shift Creative and host of the Shift Happens podcast. You've seen her fingerprints all over the most memorable event experiences that I have had, and also maybe that you've been to. Think immersive, Instagrammable activations that don't just look pretty, they move people and market for you. Alexis is a storyteller at heart, and she's going to help you reconnect to yours. In this episode, you're going to get a simple framework to turn your stories into a message that attracts the right people, the long game strategy behind podcasts and content that quietly builds a brand and network, and tangible ways to design experiences, digital or in real life, that your audiences can't help but share. We're also going to go there on the real stuff, you guys, the seasons of hustling with nothing happening, investing before the money shows up, editing your own reels when it matters, and rebuilding faith when you feel like you're not getting answers you've been praying and searching for. I know so many of you relate to the feeling of having outgrown the old version of you, and you're in that very messy middle in between that journey to your next level. So this is where the magic happens, you guys. And this podcast is going to remind you of that. It's actually going to make you grateful for the messy middle. So if you're ready to take the next step and get to your next level, this episode is for you. And let's get started.
Alexis, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here as always.
I'm so excited to have you because now you have been on the other side of the podcast where you have been interviewing people like nonstop.
Yes.
So now you are a podcast host.
Yep.
Which is amazing.
So fun.
And you gave me one of my favorite interviews that I've ever gotten to do. So you interviewed me and I loved it. I feel like it was such a great interview. It's such a talent of yours. So you guys, this is absolutely a plug to make sure you go and listen to her podcast, which we're going to dive into as well. You've had such a multifaceted career. You are a massive creative. And I think being a creative, you also are a storyteller, because I think that's what you've had to be throughout everything that you've done.
Absolutely.
So through your creations, you want to tell a story, you want to create these experiences. So I want to start with your career. You have an incredible story though, but I want to kind of start where we had met. And if anyone has ever heard of Create and Cultivate, which most people, especially who listen to this podcast, have, you used to do and still do, but you were a massive part of Create and Cultivate kind of from inception, if I'm understanding that correctly. And they kind of paved the way for events, entrepreneurial events, personal development events with these experiences. So with these activations. And I had gotten to, at that point, I'd already had my event for a few years, but I had gotten to go to a Create and Cultivate event. And I was like, whoa. What are we doing with all of these like activations? Meaning these, if you guys don't know what that is, it's like the backdrops with the words, with these experiences, very Instagrammable. And it's actually, even though it seems fun, it's genius freaking marketing. And so when I went to this event, I was like, I need to figure out how to make sure that the women who are coming to my event help me market it, but are doing it through something that they're absolutely loving, because filling an event is no joke. It is no joke.
Absolutely.
So the more you can get that out there. So that is when I was like, who is the person behind all of these incredible things? I started seeing your pictures pop up and I was like, I have to like meet her and figure this out. So I ended up working with you for my events, and it was like the most up-leveled experience. I feel like it just made my event so much better. And at the time, this was like before big events were happening in personal development.
No, for
and
sure.
we had 500 women with this stunning backdrop. that you would build. And it was like the most exciting thing for me to have you come and create such an epic experience in my world. So
Well,
that's
it's my
how I
pleasure.
got to work with you.
Yes, I've loved working with Create and Cultivate, with you, with all different types of brands, whether they're big or small. And I think that you're right. It is marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way for your brand to stand out, to be presented on social media, reposted, and kind of create buzz around what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of what we do at the Shift Creative, is we take your ideas, your vision, and we say, okay, how can we create an experience that's going to up-level and elevate the whole experience for your attendees? And something I remember even asking you so many years ago at the Bliss Project was, how do you want your attendees to feel when they enter the room? And so many people think, oh, it's just a backdrop. It's just a stage design.
Yeah.
It's just this moment where they're writing down, their fears on a card, or what they're giving permission to themselves for. But it's more than that. It is a feeling of, I want to feel empowered or confident, or this is the takeaway I want from this event. And we take that information and we make sure that that is revealed in the way that we, put on the event aesthetically and through the messaging as well.
What you do truly is just, it is an art and not everyone can do it. So I love to ask creatives, like, where do you think ideas come from? Like, where do you think your creativity comes from?
I believe my creativity is a God-given gift. I truly believe that, because when something comes so natural to you and you don't have to try so hard to think about it, I believe it's innate, it's divine. Now, of course, I can sit here and say I get inspiration from nature. I get inspiration from architecture. I get inspiration from graphic design, or whatever the case may be, fashion, color palettes, of course. But I do believe that there is an innate ability as well, where you can see something, you can see if it is colors, and to me, I might say, this would be a great color combination. And to the other person, they're like, that's kind of funky. That's a little wild. But then when you see it put together, you're like, oh, whoa, I would never have thought of that. And so that's why I say that I do believe it is a God-given ability. And we're all creative in our own ways.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you could have me try to make what you make and it would look like a pile of shit, but literally, so you truly are, it's truly a gift. Like, you are a true creative. I've seen your work in so many different modalities and it's incredible. And I love what you've also shifted into as well with your creativity. But how did that start? Because you guys, this is not a small business. This has turned into a really large business. And, this is kind of has a life of its own now, because you're now into, an incredible podcaster, you're coaching people, you're doing all these different things because you've kind of figured out how to get that business to run on its own. But I do want to know, at the inception of that, what did that look like to start building that? Did it feel crazy? Did it feel like a big risk?
Yeah. And I want to say, for those that are listening that are kind of in the trenches, kind of first starting, no one has it figured out. Yeah. We do not know what we're doing. So when I first started Shift, it was DIY projects. It was styled shoots that I was doing for free to get my name out there.
Totally.
For exposure.
I don't know another way to do it, by the way.
No. And sometimes I feel like the work ethic has been lost.
It is lost.
Okay. Especially since COVID. I have seen a shift in how hard people want to work.
Yeah.
If you were to pull back the curtain into my life at 2000, my daughter was 6 months old. I started it 2013. If you would have peered back, I have a newborn baby. Wow. I'm bringing her to photo shoots. I'm bringing her to different events. I'm staying up all night creating with my own hands art installations, because it wasn't what it was today. It was, oh, let me take pictures of my outfit and put it on my blog. It was, let me do a DIY and submit it to a well-known publication to see if it gets picked up. So back in the day, and these blogs are still around, but they're not as prevalent anymore. It would be like blogs like Style Me Pretty, Green Wedding Shoes, Inspired by This. Those are big publications for you to get your work featured on. So what I would do is I would start creating the type of work that I would want to get paid for. I would hire a photographer. I would hire a baker. I would hire wardrobe. I would hire models, and I would cultivate, this whole photo shoot. And then I would submit the photos to these blogs. And that's how I started building my following and getting paid. Right. So you're in the trenches. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your business. It is hard work. And I think in this day and age, we think we're just going to open up our camera and talk to it. And all of a sudden we're going to make money and we're going to have all these followers. It's just not the case. The hard work might look different now with the age of social media, but it's still work.
It's still the same. I know you coach people and we coach into our groups as well. And I think that people always ask the question of like, okay, well, this isn't working, or I tried this. What do you do? And I'm like, okay, well, who have you done free work for? Or who do you want to work for? How could you help them for free for a long period of time so that you can show them what your value is and what you can bring, and don't make them guess about what you can bring, like actually just bring it to them. And they're like, this is crazy. Like,
exactly.
This is literally how it's done. And if we look historically, like the landscape might look different, but exactly what you said, like it has not changed at all. You have to prove yourself to people that you can work and that you're valuable to them, and you have to show them your value. Like we used to have interns, Michelangelo created most of his art for free before he started getting paid. And it was like, this is literally how the landscape is. I did this podcast for 5 or 6 years before I got one ad, like 3 episodes a week, you guys. And like, I don't know. Are you getting paid for your podcast yet?
Nope. Exactly. I'm not getting paid for my podcast.
You're paying for your podcast.
I'm investing in my podcast. I think that is something else that people think is odd. I've heard people talk and they're like, is Alexis getting paid for that? It's like, first off, why?
I didn't get paid for 5 years.
Yeah, it's like why is that even a question?
Exactly.
But people want to know. But it's also like, no, because I believe so much in the podcast. I believe in sharing other people's stories, which we'll get into. But I believe so much in that that I'm willing to invest in it, knowing that it's the long game, and that is just what we need to keep our eye on, is the long game. Nothing is going to come easy, and I've really been enjoying the podcast. Of course, I would love to make money on it. Of course, I would love to be sponsored and have ads, and that is the goal. But I think what I'm trying to do now, for people who want to start a podcast and they're kind of figuring out, well, dang, like how am I going to make this work? Like, it's expensive, you have to have someone edit it, or if you're going to create your own reels. I also do try to be strategic on who I have on the podcast, so that it could funnel back to the Shift Creative. So it could be someone that has a new skincare line. It can be someone that has a business and maybe they want to rebrand, right? So then I get to build that relationship, and I say, oh, do you also know that I have the Shift Creative? We're a creative agency. We do branding, we do photo video campaigns, we do installations, and they might be like, oh my gosh, I'm launching a new product.
Yeah. Totally.
I need branding for it. Or, oh, we're doing a pop-up and I need a booth, right? So it's building the relationship. It is strategic. Now, not all my guests, some of them I just really love their story.
Right.
But other times you do have to be strategic in who you're bringing on. It funnels back to, my business. And so hopefully for those that are listening, if they're kind of stuck of like, well, I don't really have the extra, money to fund the podcast, maybe you could be thinking of ways it can funnel, but it's just indirectly.
Yeah. That with my podcast, that's exactly what I did too. You have to be strategic, but with like a loose grip. Like you can't be attached to the outcome, because for me, it was such a networking play, because I lived in LA. And even though I was in LA, like one of the most like places where everything was happening, I didn't want to go out and network all the time. So I was like, what's a way that me, a more introverted, absolute extrovert, like put me on stage, put me in a small group, absolute extrovert, put me in a room. I don't love it. Like I don't want to go and work a room, I was like, how could I bring people to me? Like it was truly, that's kind of how it started, was how can I have conversations and kind of get coached by people I couldn't afford? And I was like, I'm going to view this as it's such an investment in my relationships, my network, and like my own personal development, and just having to show up alone. Alexis, you know, like the discipline it takes to show up while you're not getting paid, while you're not, or even people even seeing our fucking reels or our podcast. I don't know. Like it's
I
a
sit
real
there.
thing.
We were talking about this before we started rolling.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course we outsource, you know, for reels here and there. But I was telling Lori, oh my gosh, like I want to make sure that at least the trailer or at least a little snippet is, you know, getting the point across of what the episode is really about. And since my podcast is literally people opening their heart and soul and sharing their stories, I want to be particular about the reels. So, hey, I know everyone says delegate and have a loose grip on that. And I do, but there's certain times I still sit and edit my own reels and it will take me a long time.
Yeah.
I listen through the whole hour podcast because I have to listen for the best clips. And then I cut it up and I try to do all the little transitions and I add the captions and I post it. And sure, some of the other ones might be outsourced from other people, but I still want to represent the podcast well and honor the people well that are on the podcast.
I do think that's why you will always be successful though. And I know that's like how you operated in Shift is you did like, yes, you can delegate, but I believe in the beginning, you have to have your hands in a lot more than you like want.
Yes,
I don't know of a founder who's been really successful in anything who is not like really taken something and owned it, whether it's their own social media. Like I think of Natalie Ellis with Boss Babe. Like she's always been like, no, I am creating the social. Like I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be planning this, you know, and delegating all of the other things. But like what your zone of genius is. And for you, like to be in it like that, I think that is also a lost art right now. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, I just hear of these businesses where everything is delegated. Yes. And what's the skill set that you can't delegate out? And how can you fully own that? Because you're the best at it. And obviously for someone like you who can tell a story so well and then visually tell a story well, yeah, you should be in that. And maybe you should be in that forever. And maybe you should delegate everything else because you care about it so much.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's going to get the eyeballs. So I love this conversation because I think it's really lost. Like, oh, you're not getting paid for your podcast? No. And I may never get paid for my podcast because it is marketing that you're doing that like, and honestly, some people don't want to get paid for their podcast. They want to sell their own stuff on it. And
that totally makes sense.
Maybe you want to do your coaching forever, Alexis, because it's like, okay, well, you can make way more money on coaching than you can with an advertiser. And that is a true story. So maybe you just want to push all of your coaching on your podcast. So I love this conversation so much. I think it's very important for people to know like what the inside.
The real nitty gritty of it.
Yes.
Because I think that people can get so caught up on scrolling social media. And they're like, oh my gosh, like look at this. And it looks, it's so posh and she's so professional and she has all these guests and it's okay, but I'm showing up. I'm not getting paid. I'm actually working really hard to develop all the questions, the bio, the everything. Like I really sit down. I like research the guests. I felt
it. I was like, oh, she spent a lot of time on this. Wow.
Like I'm really thinking through. And also to your point of like, oh, if I'm going to have someone come that I would want to learn from, right? I want to ask questions that are super thought provoking.
Yeah.
I want to ask questions that I would want to know.
That you want.
Right. And so, and I think that does make a podcast stand out and be great. And it also makes the person that you're sitting out across from feel welcomed and safe to share, especially deep, vulnerable things. And the biggest compliment I can receive is you are a great question asker. Yeah. And I think that shows the intentionality that you do have while having a podcast. And also to your point about networking, the podcast, and like you said, it kind of like cuts the, I don't know, what's like
the small talk.
Yeah. Like
it's straight to the heart.
It cuts the fluff. It cuts the fluff because now we're getting real and now we're leaving friends.
Yeah.
If this isn't just an interview and I'm talking about, oh, okay, what's the 5 things that you loved about Glōci and the flavors and then right? And it's like surface level, right? Totally. And you love talking about that. Obviously, you want to market it, but it's different if I was like, what's the biggest struggle you've come up against?
Mhm.
You know, what keeps you up at night, like owning this business or starting this? Then we're on a heart level.
For sure.
And it builds that trust and it builds a level of comfort. And then we can, outside of the podcast, actually build a relationship as well.
And people won't forget you. Like the level of intention that you're putting in, like they'll even be like, whoa, she really like thought about me. And they don't forget that. And in the long game, it's like, it could be someone 2 years that has an event or literally has something or a great guest whose story they're like, whose podcast could they go on? I want you to like get out, and they will think of you because they had a great experience. So for you with the podcast, what so far has been like one of the biggest kind of like lessons, takeaways, because I know it's impacted my life so much. It's made me such a better conversationalist. Oh my God, it's made me so much more comfortable with people. What has been some of the like lessons that have been so rich for you?
Well, so for those of that are listening that don't know, the podcast is called Shift Happens. And the tagline is From Pain to Purpose. And the whole premise of the podcast really is about redefining your pain and really being able to shift your perspective on your life experiences. And one of the questions I always ask all my guests at the end is, what would you say to our listeners if they were struggling to turn their pain into purpose? And so a lesson or something that's been revealed to me through the podcast is that every person is going through something. And sometimes you would never have guessed it. And it's given me a lot more compassion and empathy on a personal, relational page. And then professionally, like we were already mentioning, the long game, right? If I was taking the podcast and I was just looking at it and wanting to make money out of it, I wouldn't be doing a podcast anymore, right? I think it humanizes people. And it's really helped me see people for who they are. It's helped me build relationships I never thought I would have. And it's actually taught me a lot about who I am. And I don't even mean this in like a boasting, I'm so amazing way. It's been revealing in blind spots in my life where maybe I came in with judgments and they were dismantled as I was talking to a guest.
Totally.
And so, yeah, I think that it's caused me to be a little bit more well-rounded even.
Okay. So what has made you be so passionate about wanting to tell people stories?
Well, a big part of my story, and you know this, but your listeners probably don't or might not, is my childhood. And, you know, everyone has a story and everyone's story is so powerful. And so before I start into talking about my personal story, I love to say, because sometimes I share my story and then other people are like, oh, my story's not that crazy, or I didn't have that much trauma, or I didn't. So my story doesn't really matter. My story isn't as impactful. And to that I say, that's completely a lie. That's a lie that you're believing about your own story, because everyone's story carries impact and influence. And so I want to say that first to the listeners is your story absolutely matters, and your story can change someone else's life. With my story, a big part of it, my mom died when I was 2 from breast cancer. I had a stepmom who, you know, took care of me and my two, my half brother and my stepbrother. And at the age of 8, I got into a freak accident at the gas station where I was pumping gas and static electricity ignited the whole fuel port, catching me on fire and ultimately leaving me with scars covering 50% plus of my body. So I had to do physical therapy. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to go through over 25 surgeries.
Wow.
They had to do skin grafts on my back and a little bit of my stomach to put that skin on my legs to help repair the damage. And so through that pain, I had never learned how to process that. I didn't have counseling when I was young. My parents didn't know really what to do with it. It was kind of like, okay, she's healing on the outside. Seems like it's going well.
Were you talking about it or were you internalizing?
I internalized it. I didn't know.
So they didn't know either what
I
you were
was
going
8.
through. Yeah.
I knew I was different
Mm-hmm.
the day of 4th grade when I chose to wear shorts to school one day. And that day, unprompted by my parents, I had Post-it notes and I wrote on the Post-it notes, "You are beautiful. You are strong. Don't cry."
Wow.
And I put those on my mirror and I just looked at myself and I was like, okay. And I went to school and no one made fun of me. No one said anything, but because everyone knew the story. It was a big deal where I grew up in Las Vegas. It was on the papers, the news, they had fundraisers. It was a thing. So everyone knew it happened. But I still knew in that moment I'm different and I didn't like it. I didn't like that I was different and I did not want to use my story. I did not want to be defined by my scars and I did not want to be known as Alexis, the girl who got burned. I wanted to be anything but that girl. So I chose to hide and I decided I'm going to wear pants. I'm going to cover up. I have scars on my hand. I would walk around with a sweater over my hand. I hid. I wouldn't go swimming. I wouldn't go to the beach unless you really knew me, like you were a family friend or like a really close friend of mine. But I wouldn't for years. And so it wasn't until I had, and again, during these times, there would be moments of bravery, of courage, where I would wear the skirt or where I would go to the beach. But primarily, I hid my story. And so fast forward, I'm 19 and I didn't grow up with any religious affiliation, anything like that. I didn't know what to believe in. But I always had some internal longing for the divine, for God. Did not know what it was. And I started having dreams and I started being really depressed at 19 and confused why I would be depressed. I'm young. I'm going to college. Guys like me, like what is it? And I got invited to go to church in this philosophy class. And the philosophy class was talking really about how God wasn't real. A guy in that class invited me. I thought he was flirting with me. I'm pretty sure he was. And I was like, I'm not going to church. And I definitely had the stereotypical view of what church was in my mind. And then another guy invited me to go to church. I'm like, I cannot even make this up. God was like, I know how to get her.
I know how to get to her.
We will send her
Here
men.
we go. Yeah, I would have gone.
It's so funny.
sure.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm like, I have 2 arms. We can go
I'm
together.
like,
Two
is this
guys,
a date?
great.
I got my even joking. I was like, is this a date? And I went to church and I went that day and I had never heard the gospel shared in the way that it was, right? And I'm still figuring it out. What do I believe? What don't I? And I decided, I'm going to investigate this more. I'm going to investigate this more. And one night I had a Bible and I'm new to everything, right? And I was really battling with insecurity of my scars and of my accident. Like, why was this allowed to happen to me? Why is this part of my story? And so I actually opened the Bible and I started researching, what does light mean? What does fire mean? Because again, I had a fire accident.
Yes.
What does fire mean? Like, how many times is fire in the Bible? And what is it saying about it? What does burn mean? Like to burn. And then light, because fire gives off light. What does scars mean? Right? So I'm really researching. I'm wrestling.
You're like trying to make meaning of it.
I'm trying to make meaning of it. And so I won't go through the whole list, but I did go through each of those. And on one of the words, scars, I read the story of Jesus, who he comes back. 3rd day, he dies, he comes again. And there's this one disciple and his name is Thomas. And his nickname is Doubting Thomas. He was like, I'm not going to believe. Like, okay, this sounds like a good story. Like Jesus comes back from the dead. He doesn't believe. And so Jesus comes up to him and he says, Thomas, look at my scars. And he's holding up his hands. Look at my scars on my hands. Look at the scar on my rib. Touch, look and see, feel them. And in that moment, it helped me redefine my story. If Jesus can be defined by his scars, I can be defined by my scars. And it is who I am, part of who I am. And you can reframe your story. And I'm obviously using this biblical example, but for our listeners, they can ascribe meaning to their story in whatever way they see fit. But for me, this was a real story that radically changed the way that I view my life. Now, I'm not saying that I just all of a sudden I'm not insecure. I still have moments of insecurity, but it's a daily choice of choosing strength, of choosing to find your message in the mess, right? So that's a long-winded answer to say, why did I start the podcast? Why am I so passionate about sharing people's stories? Is because of my own story and how I wanted to hide it. Because sometimes parts of our story, they carry shame. And that's why we don't want to share it. And so I just want to encourage people that are listening that once you start sharing your story, those chains start to fall off of you and there's freedom in the sharing.
Can you look back and like pinpoint that's why you felt so anxious or depressed? Like, was there, can you say, because I can reflect back on times in my life where a lot of the times where I felt anxious or depressed or like waking up in the middle of the night or something is off. I believe there's something from God that we are meant to be doing, saying, sharing that we're ignoring. So for you, what did that, now looking back, how do you translate all of those feelings that you were having?
So after living in about 5 different places in the past 5 years and having to do all of the window treatments myself and have to source that, I can tell you that I've had a plethora of bad experiences. And I decided to try blinds.com. So blinds.com calls out the window treatment industry for what it was: outdated, overpriced, and built to serve salespeople, not customers. So they flipped it. While others may overpromise or overcharge, blinds.com delivers custom window treatments for your space, your way, at your convenience. You guys, I've had times where I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for my appointment and no one shows up that day. So unlike some other competitors, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees and zero pressure. Whether you want to DIY it, let the pros handle it, or maybe something in between, blinds.com gives you options so you're in control. And I will tell you that I went with the help. Need help picking the right look? Blinds.com design experts are available on your schedule with free consultations. And if you want the full white glove treatment, they even schedule licensed vetted pros to measure your windows at no cost, and they'll install everything for one low price. And this is exactly what I did. It's all backed by blinds.com's 100% satisfaction guarantee. So you know you're covered literally and figuratively, because at blinds.com, the only thing they treat better than windows is you. Right now, blinds.com is giving our listeners an exclusive $50 off when you spend $500 or more. Just use code EARN at checkout. Limited time offer, rules and restrictions apply. See blinds.com for details. Are you ready to take your business's marketing to the next level? Meet Brevo, the all-in-one marketing and CRM platform built to help you connect with customers, boost engagement, and grow your business smarter. With Brevo, you can manage all your customer interactions in one place, nurture leads with their built-in CRM, reach your audience through email and SMS, and keep them coming back with powerful automations. But here's where it gets really exciting. Meet Aura, Brevo's AI assistant. Aura helps you craft smarter campaigns by suggesting personalized content, optimizing send times, and even analyzing performance data to help you improve your strategy in real time. It's like having a marketing expert on your team 24/7. And of course, Brevo offers advanced analytics, seamless integrations, and AI-driven personalization, everything you need to create multi-channel campaigns that hit the mark every time. Get started for free today or use code HAPPY to save 50% on starter and business plans for the first 3 months of an annual subscription. Just head to www.brevo.com/happy and take your marketing further with Brevo and Aura. I've been an entrepreneur for over 15 years, but when I decided to start my brand Glōci, which was no longer a digital product, but instead a CPG, consumer packaged goods product, I felt like I was starting from scratch. I had to get together all of my partners, my co-packer, my manufacturer. I had to learn how to formulate. I had to figure out my tech stack. Like, what even is that? And I will tell you that finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything is such a game changer. And for millions of businesses, including mine, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel, Gymshark, and my brand included, Glōci. You can get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. I am always getting complimented on my website at getglōci.com, which is Shopify. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. I love checking my Shopify to see all of the new people that are coming in and reading each individual name. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/happy. Go to shopify.com/happy, shopify.com/happy.
Yeah. And I didn't know that at the time, right? I woke up, I actually had a nightmare from my biological mom that I have had, she died of breast cancer. So I had no memory of her. And she actually like came in my dream and was like telling me to like stop because I was partying a lot. And so, I was really wild. And so she was like, stop in my dream. Yeah, I was, you would never know, girl. Like
we would have gotten along great though for a little while.
Yeah. We'd have a little bit of fun.
And we would have hated each other.
But yeah, looking back, I see God's hand so clearly in my life. And I agree with you that so many times when we're battling with that anxiety, we're not aligned with our purpose. And maybe we're not feeling authentic in what we're sharing online or what we're doing in our business or even in our relationships. Maybe there's a version of us that is just desperate to be free. And maybe we don't even realize it. But I think it is in the processing of your story and owning it, and then in the sharing, that has been freeing for me as I look back and as I've looked at my journey from then 19 to now. I definitely see the power of everyone's story and of mine in particular.
I'm so curious now that you've shared that party aspect too, because I had it so deep. Like it was like, I'm surprised I overcame it, to be honest. Cause it was a identity, a personality, an addiction. I thought I would never have fun ever again without like partying.
Oh, I
almost
was the
6
fun
nights
Alexis.
Yes.
I was like, and then when I stopped being fun because I became a Christian, it was like, we missed the old Alexis.
Oh, for sure. I lost all my friends.
Oh, so I had no friends.
Yeah.
And then add in like I'm going to church, then it's like really weird.
For sure. They're just like,
okay,
you're out of here.
Cool. So now she's like going to church. So like what's happening? Like it's almost weird,
Yeah, totally. They're like, what happened?
Yes. So no, I was partying. I was doing so much drugs and drinking. And I just thought I was like the coolest person living that life.
Same.
And so it is hard to like go from that identity to really figuring out who you are and getting really real and honest, because you have to almost face your demons when you can't numb out with alcohol or drugs anymore.
It's like I didn't know how to, like, I didn't know that there was another way to have fun. And also I want to ask you about that because I feel like so much of that was because even as a younger girl, I feel like even being like in my early teens, I felt like a really big call on what I wanted to do with my life, except my reality did not reflect that at all. Like not even close. So I do feel like somehow I got more into that lifestyle and partying and drinking because I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to be that. And I wanted to be something so bad, or I wanted to feel, I don't know what I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel connected. And I felt like I was supposed to do something important. But I think because nothing in my life reflected that, I was like, I just would totally numb out. Did you have anything like that in your life? Or do you know why you were drawn to it?
I mean, well, I can resonate deeply on the part of knowing that you were created for more and made for more. I knew that from a little girl, and I could not shake it, and I still can't shake it. And to be quite frank, there's days where I want to give up, like on the podcast, or days I want to give up in my business
still.
or days where I can struggle with my mind, thinking that I'm not good enough, or I'm not successful enough, or whatever they are. I'm not smart enough.
I have that all the time still.
Right?
Still. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but then we have to go back to little Lori and little Alexis that knew inside of them, without anyone saying it, that we were created for more, and there was a purpose and a call in our life that we can't even explain. And then that's what helps keeps us going. I think my draw to drugs and alcohol, and honestly, even like sex, like attention from men, was a conscious decision to numb. Mine was conscious. Mine was not, oh, I'm just partying. Mine was a turning point of, I do not like my current reality. I do not know how to cope. And nothing I seem to be doing is paying off, like as a teenager or as like a young girl, right? With my parents. So it was like, well, I might as well just be the bad girl, because good Alexis isn't working for me. So I'm just going to rebel and say, screw it, and just do what I want to do. And so it was more of like a stick it to the man. And and then that's why I started, gravitating towards those things. And I'm really grateful for my path, and that I believe like God interjected, because I was on a dangerous road. I was on a dangerous road.
You and I are so alike. It's scary. Like so alike. That was because I was raised so religious, and because I was told I was bad because I did something bad as a teenager, and you get marked and you get it announced in front of everyone.
That's wild to me.
So I decided.
You have a lot of probably like church trauma.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, this is not your podcast.
How many episodes do we want to do after this?
No, I know, but like there probably is like deep church hurt, and like it does change the view that you have probably on religion
for sure,
and so it kind of, it's the lens that we view life with. And so sometimes we have to unlearn those stories too, because one experience doesn't mean that it's the same all across the board. And I have to learn, I'm learning that, like not necessarily with church, but in different aspects of life, where we start believing stories at such a young age about who we are, or who we have been told that we are, or what to believe, especially with God, that it can derail us in the future, like currently. And so it's so hard but beneficial to do the work to look back and say, wow, what stories did I believe about God? Or what stories did my parents influence me to think about God or wealth or fitness or fill in the blank that are directly affecting me now that I had no idea.
So for you, because now you have, you're very spiritual, or would you call yourself religious or spiritual?
I'm a Christian.
Christian. You're a Christian. What did you have to unlearn to get to this place where you just feel all in
with what
Christianity?
Part? With Christianity. Yeah. So that happened. So when I was 19, that's when I first became a Christian. Okay. And like I said, I had no religious background at all.
And you were like partying. You were doing all the things.
I was crazy. Okay. Like I literally, one little part of the story was I had a guy roommate at one point, and I went to church by myself, again, because everyone thought I'm weird now. I went to church by myself, and they were making a call to get baptized. And I fought it the whole time. I was like, this is freaking weird. Like, I'm going to get dipped in water. So long story short, I got dipped in the water, and I went up by myself in all my clothes and everything. Yeah. I go back home. I have my guy roommate there. He's in our jacuzzi with all these girls and I'm soaking wet from baptismal water, and he's like wet, like from the spa water with his girls. And I was just like, wow, like what a different trajectory,
like contrast.
Yes. And I'm not saying anything's wrong. Like what I am saying is that you find your own journey, but I do believe that if you seek, you will find it. Yeah. And a matter of going all in, sometimes it's just a day by day choice. It might not be just I'm going all in now. It might just be like, okay, I'm gonna try to read the Bible, or I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday. And so I think that that's the progression of it. And then being around other like-minded individuals. At that time, I started going to like a college ministry. Then you start feeling a sense of belonging. You can ask questions. And that's when I decided, okay, like I'm continuing on. And I've had many times in my walk where I could have completely given my faith away and said, I don't believe anymore. I went through a divorce. My best friend died. There was lots of areas where you can say, if you look at a fork in the road, and you could say, I could just go do whatever I want to do. And I want to go do drugs again. And I want to go just get drunk. And I just want to whatever on the side. Or I can choose God's way. And what I found is whenever I do choose my way, because I'm an imperfect, flawed person, it ends up in destruction. and devastation in my life. And that's why I always go back to my faith.
So how do you know what is the right way? Like, what do you do? Do you, you have big life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You're struggling. What does that look like?
Well, first, I think that who you surround yourself with is so important. So like-minded individuals, people that have wisdom, that if you look and you peered into their life and their relationships, that you can glean wisdom from. So important. You're not going to ask for advice from someone whose marriage is in shambles. You're not going to ask marriage advice to that person.
I won't even hang out with those people. Yeah.
Right? No. So if I'm struggling with advice, let's just say spiritually, I'm probably going to go to someone that's within my church or someone that shares my beliefs. I'm not going to go to my entrepreneur friend. And I do believe that there's certain friends for certain things. Not all friends overlap, right? So number one, I'm going to surround myself with people that do believe in what I believe if I'm seeking advice from that. Number two, prayer. So people say meditate. I say prayer because I'm talking directly to God. And so I will spend time, if it's through worship music, if it's through out in the nature, if it's through journaling, and I will say, hey, I do not have it figured out and I'm struggling and I need help. And just clear my mind of anxiety and give me a peace that surpasses all understanding, because I'm burnt out and I don't know what to do. And I do believe, like I mentioned earlier, that when you seek, you will find. When you knock on the door, it's going to be opened. And so through prayer, I think you get impressions, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can hear God's voice clearly, and sometimes it could be through a friend just sending you a text right after you prayed. It could be you go to an event and someone walks up to you and shares something that spoke to you exactly in that moment, right? Third, I go to the Bible. I believe in the Bible, and I go to it for wisdom. And so the book of Proverbs, so many of us in our life, we quote the Bible. We just don't even know it. And so it's so full of wisdom, and I go and I glean from that. And so those are the top three ways that I get advice when I'm low or feeling depressed or battling with a business decision or feeling unworthy, or whatever the case may be.
I love that. I've been thinking of the concept of faith and how much like you don't get to truly understand what faith is until you're at a breaking point, when you think you've been completely abandoned by like everyone, God. You don't hear anything.
Yes.
And like it's that point of like absolute surrender. And that's where you either decide to fully lean in.
Yeah.
It's a crazy, crazy place where we would never wish those times on people ever. And they're kind of the worst thing in your life. But they're also the moment where when you can't rely on your own strength anymore is, I think, where you learn about what faith is when
absolutely.
you are done.
Absolutely. You know something, and I brought this up earlier, that when I was 19, I was in a philosophy class. In that same class, there was that guy there that invited me to church. In that philosophy class, this is what really planted the seed. It was almost like betting on God. Like if you don't believe in God, okay, like that's your choice. However, the philosopher Pascal, he came up with this theory. It's called Pascal's reasoning. And there's basically like, if there was a whiteboard in here, I would draw out like a big grid. And on one side it says, if you don't believe in God and he doesn't exist, nothing happens. You don't believe in God, he doesn't exist. Nothing happens. No biggie. If you don't believe in God and he does exist, you've lost everything. But if you do believe in God and he does exist, you've gained everything. And so some people might agree or disagree with what I'm about to say, but I'm almost like, just bet on God. You could gain everything or you could lose everything. And so for us just to be curious enough to go to church or to pray, or what do you have to lose? Just take the next best step is what I like to say.
It's so easy to forget. It is like so easy to forget. And it's like a reminder every single day. But like whenever I have just like leaned back in, it has always been good. It's always been good. And I think one of the biggest things about that is to understand like he works in such, maybe for people who can fully understand, like it's very backwards, But like once you
Very
understand that it works that way, everything makes complete sense. Like your life doesn't not make sense anymore. Like even when people are rude or I'm getting shut out of something, or I want to be, even if it's something simple, like I want to be friends so bad in this group of girls or whatever it is, and I'm not getting let in, like fast forward down the road, I'm like, thank God.
Yes.
Or like, that's
all
not my
makes sense.
people. I would have had to be someone else to be in that group. Like,
yeah. Or that relationship where you're like, oh, I'm so
Totally.
glad that didn't work out. And you could see God's hand going through it. Or that business opportunity.
Yes.
Or everything that just seems to have lined up, but you didn't know as you were going through it.
Right. Or
You know?
why that business opportunity failed, or why we lost everything. Like, oh my God, if we would have lost everything, we would have probably lost it. Well, we wouldn't have probably, we would have lost it when the stakes were much higher, you know, and where more people were involved, where we lost it at a phase where we didn't have a lot of people involved and the stakes weren't super high. So it was kind of like, wow, that is really insane how your life lessons work this way.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone right now who's listening to us and they're like, whoa, okay, they're like sharing a lot of their story, but it's obviously made you so compassionate. It's made you a great storyteller. It's made you someone who can ask incredible questions, who can stand in others' shoes and get along with just about everybody. What would you say to someone who's afraid of sharing their story right now, but like feels the same way that we've kind of described?
I would say, imagine sharing your story and experiencing immense freedom and healing than you've ever had before. Imagine what your life could look like in the sharing, because I've witnessed firsthand my own personal story, the people that I interview, the people that I coach, the release that they feel from sharing, because like I mentioned, we are riddled with shame or guilt or feelings of unworthiness. And when we finally release that and start sharing, like the shame has no power over us anymore. The lies have no power over us anymore. We get to truly walk in our authentic selves. And I do believe that it aligns us more with our purpose, our God-given purpose. Now, am I saying that everyone needs to share in a podcast or share in front of a camera or share? No. But there can be parts of your story that you've kept hidden that you know could drastically impact other people just by you speaking it. And that could be a one-on-one conversation. That could be in your masterclass. That can be on that group coaching call. That can be to your parents. That can be to friends. There's so much power. And I do believe that we have bought into the lie that no one actually cares about our story. And it's just not true. Because like I said at the beginning, your story might just change someone else's. And that is why I'm so passionate about it. I've seen it time and time again. I believe in it. And I've never felt as much freedom as I do in my life currently because of how proactive I am in sharing my story. And I don't share all of it. People might think, oh, wow, she shares a lot of her story. I do, but like, you imagine the parts I don't share, you know, like, so you have to be
like,
wise.
I'm not sharing some of mine.
Yeah. I mean, like, you have to be wise. We're not saying air it all your dirty laundry, but you do know, even as I'm talking, even as you're listening to this podcast, you know the parts that you feel in your heart and your soul where you're like, I knew that this happened and it was bad and it hurt and I'm hurt by this. But if my pain can help someone else feel not alone, then my pain's not in vain. And so everyone has that moment in their mind right now. And I just encourage you to share it and you will also be healed in the sharing.
When do you think we're ready to share a story? I've absolutely heard some people talking. I'm like, ooh, no. Like, you're not ready yet. Ooh, that's too much. Oh God, it's coming off the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's coming off more angry or trying to get back at someone.
Yeah.
Or like so traumatized that it's actually like almost feels like a dumping to the
like
person
a trauma
listening.
dump.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when do you know like you're ready? And also, I just would love to have your perspective too on touching on, you know, sometimes we have to be really discerning around what we're saying or who in our family, names, all of those things. I know people are like, they don't deserve to be protected, but also there's legal things.
1000%.
There's so many things. So can you touch on all of that?
Well, one, that's why I always say, especially with like the coaching work that I do, is first you have to process your story. If it's unprocessed and you are just shooting off the hip, that bitterness is going to come across, that anger, the resentment is going to come across. We need to be communicating from a place that is healed when we're sharing our story. And so that does look like doing the work. I actually have created an online guide that helps you process your story. And it it has all these questions that talks about your childhood. It talks about what lies you may be currently believing about yourself that maybe you need to rewrite or reframe. And so it helps you process that first before encouraging to share your story. So I think that's a really good word and a good, a good
We'll
place
connect
to
that
pause.
in the show notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I can definitely send that over. Because if we're just talking, then we don't know where it's going to land. I think when we share our story, we need to be so clear on who we are wanting to reach and the purpose. So that's why some parts of your story aren't meant to be shared to everybody. Okay. And then to your second point about names or, family members, there are certain things, like, for example, I do share openly about my childhood on my Instagram, and my dad is alive and well. And my dad watches my Instagram. And there's been times where my dad has texted me or called me and said, you should probably not share so much. And now each story is different. For me and my story, the reason why I do share about childhood, I don't ever say like my dad did this, but I talk about my childhood in vague terms, is because that is my story and my voice. And if he wanted to share his story and his perspective, he has the right to do that. So you have to look at why that person would be upset. And if you are out of bounds in the sharing, I think that if you are feeling as you start sharing like, ooh, this probably is not going to land well, or this is going to damage this relationship that I have worked so hard to rebuild in the sharing, it might not be necessary to share.
Yeah.
Or you can reframe it in a different way. So I think that that's why the processing part of the story is so important first, so that when you do share, it can be framed like for example, when I share my story about my accident, and my stepmom was very abusive. So even me saying my stepmom was very abusive, my stepmom could call me up and say, you're telling me, but for me, I'm willing to accept those consequences.
Yeah.
So you have to also gauge that. Now, if I were to share something on my Instagram talking about my accident and how my stepmom was abusive, I can reframe it to say, this was my experience. However, like, me and my dad have done XYZ to maintain a healthy relationship. Or however, now as a parent, I can understand how it could be so hard to show up and be there emotionally when your daughter has burns all over her body and you have 2 other kids at home. Right? I think also coming from a place of grace and empathy and compassion when sharing the story, if you're bringing in other people, makes it more digestible for the other person.
For sure. I had to go through that with what parts of my story that I wanted to share.
Yes.
And even through the years, like years go by and you realize, oh, that's not important to share at all. People can understand the lesson that I'm trying to say, and they can feel where I've come from by kind of like telling them I understand, or, giving them small details.
Without going so deep.
Yeah.
Because I know your family, listens to your podcast and goes, you don't have to go so deep into the details. It can just be, I grew up in an ultra religious household, and it was, I felt XYZ.
Right.
This is how it landed on me. This is how I internalized it. This is how growing up in those surroundings made me feel, and how it affected me in my work life or in my relationships. Right. So it's not, and I do want to say, even if you say it and you put a bow on it, someone's going to get offended.
For sure.
When we speak the truth, people are bound to be offended. You just have to be okay enough with them feeling a certain way about it.
Do you feel like, because now you've surrounded yourself with a lot of people who are just like, oh, what's the word? Like, have like faced off with their own demons, like have really done a lot of their own healing. It's almost like when you get more of those people in your life and those friendships, they become almost like armor to those other people, because it's like, if I can now deal with the consequence of, if my family is upset, it's actually okay. Because
And
I
you can
have a
still
whole
love
other
them.
version of family.
Yes.
And I can love them. I can
And
love
you can
them completely.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of growing. And yeah, you're right. Like having that community around you is so important. I think for those that don't have the community, that's the power of the mindset shift
Mhm.
and of like reframing and rewriting the stories that you were, that were told to you or that you believed when you were younger. Because some people that are listening might not have that group that has done the inner work. Maybe they are the ones that are breaking the generational cycles right now and they feel alone. Sometimes you got to stand on your own 2 feet by yourself at first. And maybe this podcast is that armor, right? So I definitely, I hear you. And I think that that's so important to surround yourself with other people as well. And I think that, again, you just have to decide how important is it for you to share those parts of your story and stand in your truth at the end of the day.
What is something right now that you are just working through, unlearning, a pattern you're breaking right in this moment?
I had Busy Gold on my podcast. I don't know if do you know her or familiar with her work? And so we were chatting, and she has this program, and she was like, "Oh, I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it. Like we can talk about whatever you learn through it." So I'm going through this program.
Yeah.
And it's all about rewiring your brain. And this is a shameless plug for her, but she has a book out that's called Your Brain is a Filthy Liar. And it talks about how your brain, it wants to keep you safe, right?
Yeah.
And so when you start implementing new habits or ways of thinking, your brain is firing like, uh-oh, what are you doing? That's not how you typically respond. You're supposed to respond like this. You're supposed to be reactive. You're supposed to, X, Y, Z. And so then you get to choose, okay, I'm going to go back to this pattern again, right? So I'm learning right now in relationships, if there's conflict, am I going to leave? Am I going to be reactive? Am I going to say a hurtful word? Am I going to want to just exit the relationship? Because the story I start to believe, or that I have believed from a little girl, is I cannot trust anyone to show up for me. That's the story that I believed from a small girl. I have to figure it out myself. People are going to let me down. And so that one belief can dictate your business, can dictate all your romantic relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have been learning to dismantle that belief and to give opportunities for people to show up for me. That's friendships. That's in any way. It's very hard. In my work relationships and my romantic relationships, especially my romantic relationships, it's hard to, if there's a disagreement or a conflict, my first thought is like, see, I knew this was going to happen.
And then a wall goes up and you push them away because it's protection.
Yep. I knew this was going to happen. I knew you were going to do this. And well, this is never going to work. And then each time you do that, like you said, the wall, brick by brick by brick, and then it takes work to tear it back down, to come back to just a normal, steady state. So that's one of the beliefs that I'm learning to unlearn.
I'm like, well, chat with me about it, because I swear I went through that exact thing. That's why I wrote the book on friendship. That's why, like, literally my husband was such a gift for me, because he absolutely threatened me with dismantling it. Like, if I wouldn't have, he changed everything for me. But I had the option to choose. I almost ran from him multiple times. Like, he was like, if you leave this house and run from this argument one more time, don't ever come back. And he's like, you will continue to do this your whole life, Lori, and you will sabotage every relationship. Every girl, every guy, everyone, everything. Because I was like, I'm better alone, and you can't hurt me.
Exactly.
When I'm alone.
Yes. And it's so real, and it's so powerful. And so many times we don't even realize the thoughts that we're believing in our
had no idea.
heads. It's wild.
I was just like, I'm independent. You don't know how to be with an independent woman.
Oh, that's what I say too. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm just so strong. And honestly, if you were safe for me, then I wouldn't be in my masculine energy. Like, it's like, those are things that I say.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
And of course there's some relationships where that's true, but there's others that's your own issue.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're not giving opportunities for them to even show up.
No.
you know? And so it's definitely big. We could have a whole podcast
Part 2
on just
coming.
that. Yeah.
Part 2 and 3 coming. Religious trauma part 2, part 3 relationships.
Yeah, we can really get deep. People are going to be like, why is Lori talking so much about this?
Oh no, it's real. If you listen to my podcast, it's absolutely, it's weaved throughout the whole thing. It's my whole,
it's everything.
It's my whole story, you know, and I do attract a lot of people who are like breaking those patterns. And I know you attract a lot of people who are wanting to tell their story right now. So you guys, if you're listening to this, you have to follow your podcast. And where else can we find you? Like, tell us all the things you're doing, the coaching, the podcast, everything.
Yes. So you can find me for coaching and for inspirational content on Alexis Andra. And then for the podcast, it's Shift Happens. And the tagline is From Pain to Purpose. And then for anything creative, the Shift Creative. So just remember Shift, because Shift happens in the Shift Creative. So yeah, that is what I am doing over there. And I'm here as a resource for you guys if you need me.
Anything else that you want to add or direct them to?
I don't think so. I think we've talked about a lot.
I think we did it.
There's a lot to digest here, so I don't want to overwhelm them. But I'm definitely, I am the type of, you know, person that if you DM me or if you do need help in processing your story, like Lori said, we will add that free PDF to the show notes so that you can begin to process. And there's an opportunity for coaching to help you walk through your story, and then ultimately, you know, to help you share it as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
We will do a part 2 because I feel like I have so much to dig into. You guys just go down to the show notes. You can find everything. You can find that PDF. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.